Welcome back to my YouTube once more. Team Test Reaction is my name. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, share, like and comment. Naledi Pandor is the retired minister of South Africa. The lady is now speaking the sense. He has tell us we Africa must support what is happening in the world in terms of Ibrahim Traore. So let's watch this video until the end and then I'll come back with more comment.
I'm not a professor. I'm a recently retired Minister of Foreign Affairs of South Africa. And so I'm going to speak in that guise. I wish to begin by saying that I am a revert to Islam. And the Islam I have been taught is one which is fighting fit. As Muslims, we do not submit to oppression. We fight it. This is how I have been taught. So I want to begin by saying that I think it's vital when we discuss global politics that we do not appropriate a sanitized view of the West. If you look at a lot of the world's problems, there's a common denominator related to the chaotic and complex problems that we experience today. And that common denominator is Europe and the United States of America. Now, it may very well be that we do need to examine ourselves because there are fault lines in ourselves, in our countries, in our leaders, in our organizations. But as we examine ourselves, let us also look at the undercurrent of the role of intelligence organizations, of those two factors in much of our problematique. It is in Southern Africa where we had the CIA supporting the emergence of UNITA in Angola to fight the liberation movements so that we in South Africa should not defeat apartheid. It was in Mozambique that again intelligence organizations from outside Africa came into Mozambique, created, financed, armed Renamo, not to fight the Mozambican freedom fighters, but to fight us, because for them, South Africa was a white island of privilege that they wanted to preserve, and they would do everything to ensure that they preserve that. So you are dealing with a very, very complex, evil enemy. And we in the world, if we are to understand how we engage with humanity, we must not sanitize the level of harm, the level of intention to cause you not to succeed. It's absolutely necessary that we understand that. Now, let me come to this interesting phrase that has been used very loosely in the past decade and much more in the past 5 years. And this is this expression of international rules-based order. We always ask the question, whose rules? Who's the referee? Because we understand that in global relations, the international rules are framed in terms of international law and international humanitarian law. There isn't a rules base like a referee match of soccer or rugby. So we need to be very careful. And this notion of rules-based has been developed for someone to be able to say, you are not following the rules when they disrespect international law. So we also when we discuss global politics, should be wary of appropriating concepts that seek to reify the dominance of particular countries and make us believe that it is those countries that are the ones that would preserve order and the rest of us are merely there to follow. These are very problematic notions that we should not accept. So I agree with the colleagues that part of what we wish to achieve is to seek consensus, is to seek inclusion, is to seek a level of cooperation where all of us matter in this world. I would like, as my contribution today, to speak about the global South. Now, I know that we use the concept loosely because despite the notion that you are juxtaposing the South with the North, we don't have a coherent South, nor is there necessarily a coherent North. You can see, for example, the response of some of the Balkan states in Europe with respect to the Russia-Ukraine war. So there isn't a homogeneity of response. And similarly, when I refer to the global South, I do know that it is a concept that is not accepted by everyone, nor is it meant to create the notion that we are a homogeneous, coherent political force as countries of the South. But I do think it's a useful concept and one that we should use. So let me begin by coming back to Professor Fouaz's earlier comments this morning when he spoke about the current geopolitical environment being at an inflection point, and I absolutely agree with him on this. It's an inflection point that might lead to an emergent global set of relations that could be less hostile than those shaped by the powerful assertion of unipolarity that has been so dominant for over 70 years. Despite having a multilateral premier institution of the United Nations, essentially unipolarity has been extremely dominant for several decades. And what we are all seeking an answer to is how do we create successfully a multipolar world? We believe that geopolitical contestation has been somewhat laid bare by at least 3 significant events in the past 2 decades. Firstly, the devastating economic crisis of 2007, which affected all our economies and confirmed the strong macro-financial limits of globalization. Second, the impact of COVID-19, which we often neglect to mention, and yet it had such an effect. And alongside that global impact of COVID-19, we recall the manner in which the developed, richer countries of the world failed to initially promote global pandemic response cooperation. I recall when we were responding to COVID-19 as South Africa and the African continent, we couldn't get anybody to sell vaccines to us because they said themselves first and then others later. So we failed with global pandemic response cooperation, and countries that are richer than us, that had developed the science, were quite comfortable to see many of us in the South die and would not provide us with the support we needed to combat this pandemic. Then I think thirdly, we have the devastation of the Russia-Ukraine war and its confirmation of the inadequacy of the United Nations, and particularly of the United Nations Security Council. Linked to this war is the onslaught of Israel against the people of Palestine, and the failure of the global community to decisively intervene and stop this harm to Palestinians. A failure despite the existence of international law and international humanitarian law. Despite these frameworks that are designed and adopted by us, the nations of the world, to protect the innocent from harm, as the globe, we failed to assist Palestinians. So it is this confluence of events over a decade that has led to the problems we are speaking of today as we address global politics. So let me come to my country, South Africa. South Africa is a country that emerged from the devastation of apartheid, racism. And it emerged with the belief that it is the duty of leaders to seek peace for their people, for those that they lead. Out of the pain and ashes of apartheid, we have sought as South Africa to create a constitutional democracy that seeks to unite a once divided, diverse nation, and to create what we aim for, which is a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist country in which human rights belong to all and human dignity is the cornerstone of our constitutional foundation. South Africa strongly believes in our common humanity and in the obligation of all persons to engage in struggle against injustice and to unite in international solidarity to fight oppression. Our leaders went all over the world asking you, your leaders, civil organizations, Islamic organizations, Christian organizations, saying there's this evil called apartheid that we are fighting. Could you join us in solidarity in an international anti-apartheid movement? And in country after country, the people, not the leaders, the people said, we will join. Whatever way we can help, we will help. Even Yasser Arafat, under conditions of oppression, said as the Palestinian Liberation Organization, they will assist us in whatever way they can. This is why today, in international solidarity, we stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Palestine. Because in our hour of need, they stood with us. And this is our understanding of international solidarity. And we believe we need this international solidarity as humanity in any instance where harm is brought to those who are oppressed. We really appeal to the world that just as they supported us when we were fighting for freedom, so must this global solidarity today, matched with positive values and ideals, be brought to bear urgently in order to assist the people of Palestine. The West European region and the United States of America are a powerful combination that the world has to engage with. However, the question we must answer for countries of the South is what should be the nature of our relationship and engagement with the West. There are several key points. Firstly, we believe that the South must collaborate consistently on addressing critical development priorities to end poverty, inequality, and joblessness. His Royal Highness, the Sultan, made reference to these issues this morning. Secondly, we believe countries of the South should not take a back seat on global challenges. They should be advancing openly for freedom from corruption and freedom from terrorism and all other ills, on behalf of the Palestinian people and the people of Sahrawi who are also oppressed. Third, the South is the largest bloc in the United Nations, and yet it is the least powerful. The South countries should actively ensure reform of the United Nations system to make the UN Security Council more democratic and more effective. How can it be that only 15 countries believe they can assume responsibility for our peace and security, and 5 of that 15 can veto anything that doesn't address their interests? This is undemocratic, it's inefficient, and it has to be brought to an end, and it is us, the South, who must lead on that. Fourth, the South, particularly the countries of Africa, which hold the bulk of the mineral resources used for industrial and manufacturing processes, must move away from being resource rich and economically poor and learn to use their mineral resources to develop their economies. And it is if we cooperate as the South that we can ensure the industrialization of Africa and the development of a strong beneficiation and manufacturing base utilizing the rich wealth of mineral resources of Africa. In conclusion, I believe that this global moment offers the South an opportunity to lead in shaping a more consensus-driven, inclusive, development-oriented world in which the South has genuine influence. It can't be that we are consistently driven to vote for the richer countries, and we never put ourselves in a preeminent position of power. The time has come for us to utilize our numbers to good effect, and we also have to begin as the population of the various countries of the South. We need to begin to ask ourselves, what's wrong with the kind of leaders we put in office? And it is time, if they do not address what needs to be done, that we change the leaders and ensure that we put into office leaders.
Hello guys, welcome back. Hope you have watched that clip very well. Naledi Pandor is telling about, she has spoken about what happening during the COVID-19. COVID-19 was a wake up call to Africans, but we all sleeps, because these Western countries, as we watch that very well, she has told us that these Western countries, they had a dose of vaccination of coronavirus, but they waited until we Africa was suffered a lot. We suffered a lot, so that they decided to bring for us a dose. These are very selfish countries. So she has told us that pandemic was a waking call, but we didn't wake up. She has now gone on and she is telling that we need now to stand with Ibrahim Traore. We as African, we must now united and stand with Traore to defend him for what is being planned against him. We need to follow the suit of Malema. Malema has now come out and she's a real Pan-Africanism, and he has come out and defended the Traore. So Pandor has now said that we Africa, we are rich. We need to stop this using our resources to benefit these people. Let's reason together. What's the essence of being have a lot of resources in our country which is not helping us? A title that Africa is the largest supplier of minerals and resources, but it's not helping us. We need these things to we cannot eat title. We need to have our own in our pocket. So Pantori is really advocating for us, and he has really tell us that we need to wake up and we need to unite it and defend our own resources from going outside. She has also told us leaders must stop this habit of working for these white people. We have seen a lot of people, a lot of African leaders working for these white people. Because of what? Because of begging them for the help. And the help that these people are giving us is our own men. They have stolen from our own resources. What I did in, if you watch well, Dr. Kana told us these people steal from us, then they are giving back to us. So they have stolen from our resources, and now they are coming back and giving with just little. So Pandora is telling us the united we is unity is power. So she is telling us that we need to unite it, and we don't want to work for these people. We need to work for ourselves. We need to develop our own structure. We need to develop our own healthcare. These USAID, these things are used for doing looting our money from looting our resources from Africa. So she has come out and she has really defending us, and we need more Pantore in this Africa. We need more Arikana, we need more Louis Van Gaal, we need more Malema to defend this country, this continent from we Jamaicans. We need to learn from Africa. Jamaica are now behind Africa because of what? Imagine Jamaica is only a highland, but it's has it's a really, we need to stop these oppressors from using us. They have been using us for so long, so we need to when you go to school in these Western countries, our black children are being racism. A lot of racism is happening across the world because of these white people. These people, they don't love us. In fact, they are using us, but they don't love us. They are giving us what we call NGO, which is not helping us. When you go now to United States, we have less opportunity to African people, and yet we are going the black American. So why are you being called a black American, just a title, and you are being given a less opportunity, low wages to work for this country? So Pandora has come out and has tell us that we need to stand, and we Africa, and we need now to work hard so that we succeed. This baking we must stop now. We need now to have our own, to develop our own country. She has also, she's now telling us that for better generation of tomorrow must be to now. It's not wake up. We need to build now. Now it's that time she has recognized Ibrahim Traore as the president of Africa. As all we know that Traore now qualified to be a president of Africa, we need to make him a permanent president of Africa, because he's speaking from his mind. He's speaking the reality. He's doing the work that was supposed to be done by President Ban. Ibrahim is the youngest captain, and now he's my captain because he's doing a lot of work which is helping his people. So Pantore is the one that is advocating for development of our country. So we need to wake up. We need to support Traore from being eliminated. We know that assassination has been happening, but all attempts has failed. For now, only lies being built against him. Thank you for watching my video once more. Team Tesi Reaction is my name. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, comment, and share. Thank you so much. See you later. And thanks for my loyal supporters who are continuing supporting me through traveling. Thank you so much, and may God bless you much. Thank you. Bye for now.